So good morning everyone. I welcome all of you to our channel. So guys, as all of you are aware, we have started our English medium series for UGC NET paper 1. This is specifically for students who are from English medium background and from places like South India, because we were getting a lot of demand for English medium lectures from these places and these students. So along with our Hindi medium lectures, we would continue with our specific English medium lectures. Today what I'm going to do is I'll be starting off with your unit 7, that is your data interpretation. And before going to this unit, let me just remind you that our batches have already started. The admission process and the details are available in the description box. So anyone who's interested, check out the details and you can enroll for the batch. Right. So if I talk about unit 7, that is data interpretation, the unit consists of topics like sources and acquisition, classification of data, quantitative and qualitative data. What are the various types of data? Primary data, secondary data, how do you collect data, how do you represent data, then what is the need of data, what are the uses of data, right? And this unit, as you know, all of the units, they consist of close to 5 questions in your exams. So this unit would also constitute 5 questions. Now what I've seen over the years is that there are a few questions that might come from your theoretical part, that is your sources and acquisition part or classification of data, whereas definitely one question would come from your graphical representation as well as the data interpretation. So today what I'm going to discuss is what is data interpretation exactly, what is the need of data interpretation in your exam like UGC NET, and then a few basics of data interpretation, a few shortcuts. At the end of the lecture, I would focus a bit on Vedic maths to help you with your shortcut calculations. All right, so I hope the syllabus part is clear. This is theoretical part and this part is the actual numerical part wherein you would get the question in exam, and again this is your theoretical. So what I'm going to do is, in this series of the lectures, I would take you through the actual numerical problems, and then I would cover a couple of lectures on your theoretical topics as well. All right. Okay, so if I talk about the introduction of data interpretation, what is data interpretation? So as the name suggests, it basically refers to the process of organizing raw data into readable form and representing or visualizing it through charts and graphs so that it can be used in decision making process. So guys, now before actually giving you out any details, let me show you this graph. So what you see on this graph is, you see that it represents various types of expenditures, the expenditures in various heads. So this is the expenditure on hospital, this is the expenditure on physicians, drugs and supplies. So you have been given different heads and this part represents the expenditure on different heads. Without actually knowing anything about data interpretation, can you tell me which head had the maximum expenditure? Yes, hospitals. Which one had the minimum? This eye equipment, construction, research and so on, right? So now you understand that representing the data or understanding the data became so easy when I represented the data actually through a chart. So without knowing much of the basics of the data, or without getting into a table, or without getting into a hassle of understanding the data, you saw the graph and you could directly tell me that okay, this is what the data represents, this is what is the meaning, and this is the highest and the lowest class. Now if I do the same thing through another kind of chart, same thing. Again, expenditures, you have various heads. So again, which part of the pie or which sector is the largest? You can clearly see this one. So again, this represents hospital. So it is very important. It is very important to understand that what is data interpretation used for. So data interpretation basically helps us in representing huge data in graphs and understanding it very easily. All right, so let's say if I have to make a presentation to an audience, so it will be much easier if I can represent such huge data with the help of a chart. That is what happens in big organizations. Whenever you talk about CEOs and big people, they always use charts, as many charts as possible for their presentations, right? Now coming to the next question, why is data interpretation important for a subject like UGC? So after UGC, when you get into colleges and further and so forth, you go into management roles. it will be very important for you to read and understand the data, make sense out of it. So let's say a very basic example, let's say a student comes to you and tells me that, or a parents come to you and they ask that what is the performance of our child for the past 1 year. So what is the first thing that you would need? You would need the data for that 1 year, and then out of that 1 year data you will have to find out the trends, that what is the trend, is the student's performance increasing, is it not increasing, any particular subject where it is going down. So trend analysis is one of the important ideas. So see, whenever in an exam you have a subject, then remember one thing, it is always relevant and you would have to use it somehow or other in that particular job. So data interpretation, if you think carefully, whenever you work in colleges, whether it is college work, whether it is related to students, ultimately at the end of the day you would have to work with data and make sense out of it. So in data interpretation we have different kind of charts. This particular chart is known as bar chart. The name is very simple, it suggests the various heads are represented as bars. That is the name, that is why it is called bar graph. This is known as a pie chart. The different components are part of a pie, they are basically slices of a pie, so that is why it is known as a pie chart. Then if you talk about the next one, this is basically the data has been represented in a table. So you can see we have different columns, we have different rows, 51, 61, these represent different years. For different years, we have different data. We have population that is given in to be in millions, and we have electric power generation that is given to be in gigawatts. Now, one very important thing that a lot of students ask me about DI, that how many units would we remember? So you don't have to remember many units, guys. So if you talk about this particular example, let's say this was gigawatts. So it has been given here, it is equal to 1000 million watts. So a lot of times, the units that are not common, they would be explained in the question, along with the question, so you don't have to worry too much about them. Then if you talk about the next chart, this is known as a line graph. The name is very simple, and you could see that each value is represented, the dots are connected with the help of different lines. That is, so for reading trend analysis, this is very helpful. So if I ask you that which value has shown maximum absolute increase, so you could very well tell that maximum differences in this commodity, so this would be the maximum absolute increase. Okay, so generally the questions in data interpretation, they revolve around finding averages, they revolve around finding percentage increase, they revolve around finding maximum percentage changes, the ratios of various values, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take you through a few shortcuts and the type of questions that you would encounter in DI. In the further lectures, I would actually take you through the questions that have appeared in the previous exams, and we'll go through each and every question separately, tables, pie charts, bar charts. I'll create separate lectures for all of them, okay? So as of now, we are going to focus on percentage. Okay, percentage is one of the most important topics that you should know to approach DI, and if you're comfortable with percentage, trust me, 80% of your work is done. Actual DI, actual calculation consists of only 20% part. The remaining 80% part is this percentage that I'm going to cover today and the next lecture. All right, so stay focused. Right, so in percentage, the very first thing that I'm going to cover is called percentage fraction equivalence. What is that? So let's start off with a very basic example. Let's say if I ask you a question that you have to find 20% of 350. Now you all know this, how to do it. You are very familiar with this, so you all have been doing it like this in your smaller classes. 350 into 20 by 100. If I had to find 30%, you would have done 350 into 30 by 100. It's very simple. Yeah, you could have, so your answer will turn out to be 70. But then let's say if I ask you the same question, and if I tell you that, okay, apply the same method and apply it on this question, 33.33% of 384. Now imagine that, what will you do? Would you do this? So So you'll remove the decimal, you'll put 100, then you'll multiply these, then again you'll put decimals according to the number of zeros. So would you be able to do this in your exam? You can if you have a lot of time, but then competitive exam, obviously it is time based, so you have to do a lot of questions in as minimum time as possible, so it is not a good method. So what I'm going to do is I'll take you through shortcuts so that you can solve these questions within seconds. All right? Okay, so for doing that, let's try and understand what is a fraction. So if I give you this fraction 1 by 3, so this basically means 1 out of 3. So when the total was 3, I have consumed 1 out of 3. Then when the total becomes 1, I get 1/3 if I use unitary method, and if I consider the total to be 100, in that case it turns out to be 33.33%. So a few important results from here. One thing is, when I consider the total to be 100, obviously this value becomes percentage. Anything expressed on a base of 100 becomes your percentage. Second result, to convert a fraction into a percentage, I have multiplied the fraction by 100. So whenever you multiply a fraction by 100, the resultant value gives you the percentage value. Third thing, this fraction 1 by 3 in percentage terms is equivalent to 33.33%. So fraction 1/3 becomes 33.33%, which means that if I have to find 33.33% of a number, then I can directly find its 1/3 and it will give me the value. But then the calculation becomes so easy. So what I said was, I'll repeat, 33.33% is equivalent to 1/3. So finding 1/3 of a number or finding 33.33% of a number are the same thing. So now if I have to find 33.33%, I directly do 1/3 of 384 and my answer would turn out to be 128. Now this question becomes very simple. Similarly, I hope this is clear. So similarly, I have other fractions. So let's say I had 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 is actually equivalent to 50%. So for any number, if I have to find 50%, I'll directly do its half. So let's say I ask you 50% of 482. So if I do half of it, I'll get 241 and that will be my answer. All right? Okay. Then if I move on, now these fractions and their equivalent percentages, this chart, guys, you have to remember by heart. So if I come and ask you that what is 1 by 4, you should directly know 25%, 3 by 4 75%, 1 by 5 20%, 4 by 5 80%, 1 by 7 14.28%. So this entire chart I have calculated using the method that I've shared with you, but there are a few other things, through few other methods to learn this. I'll share with you them. I'll share them with you now. So, but this has to be learned, guys. It has to be on your tips. All right. So 1 by 2, it's very easy, 50%. 1 by 3, I've already shared, is 33.33%. When I talk about 2 by 3, so remember that 2 by 3 can be understood as 2 into 1 by 3. So twice of 1/3. Twice of 1/3 is twice of 33.33%, which becomes 66.66%. Similarly, 1 by 4. Now, see, 1 by 1 is 100%. If I do this half, it will become 50%. Further half of it, so 1 by 4 will become 25%. If you do further half of it, 1 by 8 will become 12.5%. So you can remember these. Then you know that 1 by 4 is 25%, multiplied by 3, 3 by 4 becomes 75%. 1 by 5 is 20%. Similarly, 2 by 5 40, 3 by 5 is 60, 4 by 5 is 80%. Then 1 by 6 is 16.66%. Let me add, how we found 5 by 6. So the best method to find 5 by 6 is this. So if you divide it further, you'll get 6 by 6 minus 1 by 6. This is 100% minus 16.66%. So you'll be left with 83.33%. All right. we have 1 by 8, I said 12.5%, 37.5, 62.5, 87.5. Table of 1 by 9 is very simple. It is table of 11 actually. So 1 by 9 is table of 11. So 1 by 9 is 11.11, 2 by 9 is 22.22, 3 by 9 33.33, 5 by 9 55.55, and so on. Alright. Similarly, 1 by 11 is table of 9. So 1 by 11 is 9.09, 2 by 11 will be 18.18, and so on. Now if you talk about, a few further fractions, like let's say 1 by 15. So 1 by 15 I know can be found by third part of 1/5. You know that 1/5 is 20%, and you divide it further by 3, you'll get 6.66%. So ideally, something after 1 by 12, maybe, yeah, the prime numbers, if you talk about 1 by 13, 1 by 17, 1 by 19, you might need to remember. But the other ones, 1 by 14, 1 by 16, you don't have to remember. You can use the smaller fractions to find out the bigger fractions. Alright, so this is very important. After today's lecture, this is your first homework. You have to learn this, and it should be on your tips, guys. Alright, fine. So now if I move on to the next part, now finding 10% and 1%, it has to be used in conjunction with what we have already studied, the fractions and the percentages. So how we find 10% and 1% is, if I, let's say, talk about a number, let's say 581, and if I want to find its 10%, so remember, finding 10% is very simple. You just have to place decimal at one place from the right hand side. So one place from the right hand side. So 10% becomes 58.1. Let me write one place. Similarly, for 1%, you have to place decimal at two places from the right. So 1, 2, two places. So 1% becomes 5.81. So what is the use of 10% and 1%? Remember, you can use them like you use 10 rupee note and 1 rupee coin in your real life. So let's say if you go out shopping and you have to buy something, you have to pay something 11 rupees. So how do you pay 11? You give one 10 rupee note and 1 rupee coin. Similarly, you can make 11 rupees as 10 rupee note plus, sorry, you can make 11% as 10% plus 1%. So 11%, 63.91. If I had to calculate 9%, how would you pay 9 rupees? You'll pay 10 rupees, you'll take back 1. So 10 minus 1, it's the same thing here. So you find 10% and you subtract 1%. So 58 minus 5.8 approximately. So you'll turn out to be 52.2. Okay, so then let's say you have to find 21%. All right, so 21% is 20% plus 1%. How would you find 20%? Quickly, two notes of 10, which is twice of 10%. 10% was 58, so 58 into 2 gives you 116. 1% was 5.8, you'll get 121.8. How would you find, let's say, 49%? Very simple. 50% minus 1%. 50% is half. Half is approximately 290. 1% is 5.8. Subtract 290 minus 5.8. Approximate answer 284. Approximate. All right. So this is how you can use 10% and 1%. Now let's practice what I have taught you. So let's say 11% of 384. 10%. 1%. All right, done. 42.24. 21%. 20% plus 1%. 20% is double of 10%. 104. 1% is 5.2. So 109.2. 34.33%, a very tricky one. 34.33 is 33.33% plus 1%. 33.33 is 1/3. 1/3 of this is 242. 1% is 7.26. You get 249.26. All right. 49% of 842. So 50% minus 1%. 50% is half. 421. 1% is 8.42. So you subtract. Your answer will turn out to be close to 41 3 approximate. 84% of 25, another very tricky question and very interesting one. So 84% of 25. So guys, if you see carefully, it is actually, whenever you solve this question, you will do this. But let's say the question would have been 25% of 84. Let's imagine. So you would have done 25 by 100 into 84. Now, if you look at these two, I don't see a difference here. You can multiply a number beforehand or afterwards, it will ultimately remain the same, the result will be same. So what I do normally in exams is, if this number is comfortable, then instead of taking this as percentage, I swap these. I interchange these. So I'll find 25% of 84. 25% is 1/4. 1/4 of 84 will give me 21, and I'm done. All right. All right. So I hope you have realized the importance of this method. So I'll quickly repeat: 10%, 1%, and the fraction equivalent chart. So if you use these in conjunction, finding percentages becomes very easy. You can do it mentally. Of course, it would require practice and you'll have to learn it. The second part. So let's say I have to find 17%. All right, let me solve this question. So it says 17% of a number is 81, and then we have to find 68% of this number. So forget about this question for a moment. Let me ask you a simple question. So if I tell you that $1 is, let's say, rupees 70, all right, and if I tell you that to make 700 rupees, how many dollars do I need? So you'll simply see that 70 is 1, so for 700 I'll require 10. Basically this thing got multiplied by 10, so I need $10, right? So the same calculation applies here. I'll take 17% as 1 unit. So basically I'll say that 17% is 81, and I have to find 68%. Now, you know, a lot of students, they'll do this at this point. They'll say, all right, 17% of x is 81, then x is 81 by 17 into 100, and then I'll find 68%. It is correct, but then, you know, at the end of the day, you're going for a competitive exam, so you have to be quicker and smarter, all right? So when I have to find 68%, you have to realize that this thing has to be multiplied by 4. So I'll directly multiply this by 4, and I'll get the answer as 324. Simple. So if I continue the same process, let's say I know 10% of a number. All right, I have to find 5%. So you should directly realize that 5% is half of 10, so it will become 16. Let's say I know 5%, I have to find 50%. You should realize this is multiplied by 10, 160. Let's say I know 10%, I have to find, let's say, 1%. So divided by 10. I know 1%, let me find 3%. So multiplied by 3, 9.6. Let's say I have 5% and 3%, let me find 2%. So 2%, I'll simply subtract these. Yeah, so you'll get 6.4, something like this. So if you know 1%, you can apply it to find other percentages as well. It is very important, all right? Now, I also wanted to discuss the importance of percentage fraction equivalence in questions like this. So you have income of 198 crores, profit is 12.5%, you have to find the expenditure. So remember guys, this 12.5% is 1/8, all right? So if I consider the expenditure as X, and since it is profit, so I would be adding. So remember, the resultant fraction will be 1 plus 1 by 8, which will be 9 by 8. So this represents your expenditure, this is your profit or loss, and this part represents your income. Remember this. For profit we do plus, for loss we will do minus. So in case if this question would have been loss, I would have used 1 minus 1 by 8. Anyways, so for profit we will do 1 plus 1 by 8. If at all I had 25%, I would have done 1 plus 1 by 4, 5 by 4. So then I can use this 9 by 8 is given to be 198. So my answer is 176. All right, so see, this fraction percentage equivalence actually helps you in solving a lot of questions very easily, guys. All right, Chali. Right, so we'll move on to the next part. I also wanted to show you that how these fractions are actually useful in a lot of calculations and share with you a few Vedic calculations which would be helpful for you in approaching questions of DI. All right, so let's say the first question. The first question says 768 into 25. So what would I do in this case? I've already told you that 25% is 1/4, but I have 25 here, not 25%. So what I'll do is I'll change this 25 to 100 by 4. So as soon as I change this, it becomes 192. 19 200 turns out to be my answer. So it's very simple. 5 I can write as 10 by 2. 25 is 10 100 by 4. 125 is 1000 by 8, and so on. So remember this. All right. Now let's say I have to find square of 94. All of you can do this 94 into 94, but that's not what we are here for. So 94, I'll share a beautiful method of finding squares of numbers which are close to 100, 1500. Actually, it's a big method. I can go on, for 1 hour on this particular method. But then if I have to segregate it, I'll start with numbers which are close to 100. So let's say I have to find square of 94. I'll consider 100 as the base. So base has to be a number which is power of 10. So 10 to the power 1, 10 square, 10 cube, and so on will be considered as bases. So what is the difference of this number from the base? This number is 6 less. All right, this number is 6 less. So since it is less, I have put a minus sign here. Now it is very easy. Square this part. Square is 36, and subtract this part from this part. So take a difference of these two parts. 94 minus 6 will give you 88. That's it. Fairly simple, right? All right, so I'll take you through another example. Let's say I have to find square of 92. Again, base will be 100 minus 8. Minus 8 square, 64. Subtract them, 84. Done. All right, let's try with, I have another example here. Let's say 105, base 100, you'll do plus 5, square of plus 5, 25, add them up, 110. That's it. Another part, let's say you have to do 112 plus 12, base is again 100, 12 square, 144. Add them up, 124. Just one important point, guys, that the number of zeros here and the number of digits here should match. So if you have 2 zeros, I can retain only these 2 digits. This extra 1 I will send as carry. So 124 plus 1 becomes 125. Okay. I'll give you one more example of the carry example. So let's say I have 117, you'll do 100 plus 17, 289 and 134. 2 zeros, 2 digits. Send it across. So 134 plus 2, 136, 89. Done. All right. So we have done these. Should be able to do these questions. Next one, 83 into 87. Very, very interesting example. So this method would apply on numbers where the units total to 10 and the remaining part of the numbers is same. So if you see the remaining part, it's the same in both the numbers. If you hide the unit digits, the remaining part becomes same. So it's very simple, guys. 3, 7, 21. You multiply these 3 into 7 is 21 and multiply 8 by its next digit. So 8 into 9. So 8, 9 is 72. So that's your answer. Fairly simple. So let's say you had 62 into 68. So 2 into 8, 16. 6 sevens are 42. Done. All right. I'll move on to the next example. 102 into 54. So guys, whenever you have to multiply with a number close to 100, you break it like this. So 54 into 100 is 5400, into 2 is 108, your answer is 5508. Similarly 199, 200 minus 1 and so on, alright. 168 into 33, you know this guys. 33 is 100 by 3 approximate, 5600 is the answer. 125 by 162, you know this. 125 I discussed 1000 by 8. Now I need a multiple of 8 here, I'll put 160. So 20,000 is your answer. So approximations. You know this one. 907, 133. 133 is 4 by... This is actually 4 by 3. It comes in 1 by 3 table, okay? So I'll do 400 by 3. I need multiple of 3. I'll do 906. So 302 into 4. Yeah, okay. So it's very simple guys, alright? This Vedic maths, these calculations, these are all interconnected. So I'll quickly review what we have done today. So we saw what is the basic of DI, what is the part of syllabus that is covered in DI, how many questions from the unit. Then we went through percentage fraction equivalence. We also went through the need of your requirement of DI in your UGC NET exam. I took you through percentage fraction equivalent. I took you through the chart. You have to learn it on tips. Then I took you through a few Vedic maths examples. All right. So guys, that's it for today. I'll stop here. This is enough for one lecture. Practice it, practice hard, come prepared for the next lecture and you will find it and enjoy it. You'll find it interesting. So guys, if you like this lecture, I would request you to kindly share it with your friends, like the video. You can leave comments in case if you have any doubts. All the details of a Telegram channel, everything has been provided in the description box. You have any questions, you can always contact us and we would be happy to help you. All right. So happy learning and have a nice day.